So now I'm working on the K10 seat frame bottom and doing all the repair on it. I figured I'd show how I did it. Masking tape's a good use on here. But on the top of the seat frame, only part I got to weld is this tube. I got to weld it back on there because when I was trying to get this separated, the bolt that holds it to the bottom of the frame was stuck, so I ended up having to cut the bolt, and through that process I guess that cracked. So I got to fix that. But as far as these metal wires, my suggestion, if they're rusted away, mine are good, so I don't have to mess with it. You could look into kennels, dog crates, animal crates, any kind of fencing or something. That would kind of get you close if you need to replace that whole thing or if you just need to replace some of it. I know I've seen fencing like this in Lowe's and Home Depot, so at least I don't have to do that. But that would be a suggestion if you want something that's already made. Should be able to find some. It's bigger wires, so I think it's going to be a little bit more common. But as far as fixing the sides, I guess this is the biggest area that rusts on these frames, because out of the three that I found in the junkyard, this was the better frame and didn't fall apart when you leaned the seat top forward. So it was still rusted, so I still had to fix it. This is really all I had left of the frame itself. You can see it kind of curves up. This actually goes on the top like that. You can see my holes line up. Then this is the side piece, which went on there like that. So I ended up replacing most of the side of it. And then that square is where the nut used to be for bolting the top half of the seat to the bottom half of the seat. I just cut the nut out and I welded it onto my new piece. But as far as doing these shapes, the top half, I ended up taking my new metal, laying it on top, take a black marker, trace out the piece that I need, and then I also marked where all the holes need to be. They're not exactly the same size as that. I still got to go over them. I'll probably end up using my porting bit to make them a little bit bigger. The easiest way to do it. These little holes right there are my mess ups, so I got to weld them back up. But trace it out, cut it out. That's the easy way to do it. It's not real like this little curve. I did it all the way into the curve, but you can kind of just bend it like that. That's not too difficult to do. But when it comes to stuff that has curves in it, like if you were replacing this whole section or anything that has a curve on there, even like L bends like that, or Z bends, however you want to look at it, I find that the easiest way to make a new piece of metal is to take the masking tape and mask off whatever size section you need it to be, and take a razor blade, cut out where you want your metal to be, take off all the excess, which would leave you with this, which is what I have for making my new piece. And I ended up just taking this, pull it off of what was left of the old metal, put it onto my new metal, and then just take a cutoff wheel and cut it out. So at least it's the same size, because you can shape the tape to that, and when you actually cut it out and then bend the metal, your new piece fits in where your old piece was. I also marked where all the holes were with a black marker and transfer that over to my new piece of metal, and then I just drilled through the tape so I would have all the holes there. And before I welded it to the frame, I welded the nut back on there. I just went around on the back side of it and welded it in there. But as far as getting your reference before cutting this out, I use these two holes. I used this one, took a tape measure, measured to my center of my bolt, and then marked it down here where I wasn't cutting it off. And then I took another measurement and measured to the outside of the hole. So when I take this new piece and put it on the frame, my overall concern wasn't that. It was more whether this bolt hole was in the correct location, either forward, backwards, up, down. So I could use that as my reference to get that back where it needs to be. When you're taking this off, your old piece off, there's actually a couple of spot welds. It's spot welded to this rail on the back side. If it's rusted away, I ended up just cutting a square where the spot weld was, and then just cut away the metal and then grind it away. So I drilled out the two holes for my spot welds, and then I could just plug weld it in there. But that side's done. The other side wasn't too bad. As far as reproducing the curve, I ended up just taking it, put it in a vise, give it a bend upward, and then I took a piece of steel tubing, put it underneath, and kind of rounded that corner of it, because you need that for your seat cover, the little plastic piece that goes on the outside of it. So when you line that up, that gives you some place to screw it on there. I probably don't need that edge on there, but it's already there. I would rather just kind of have it versus cutting it off and then I needed it. So you won't be able to see it anyways. But this side's not as bad. I ended up taking the pointed end of my body hammer, kind of beating on this side, getting all the loose rust scale off, seeing how strong it was, whether I needed to cut it out and replace the sides of it. It's pitted, but it's strength wise, it still has all its strength. It's not deforming. It just looks really ugly. And then I figured I'd do the video before I put this on there, which is how I did it. Laid it on there, traced it out, marked all the holes, drilled them out before I did it. The reason I drilled it out is then you can just line it up to the factory holes and mark where you need to cut it with your black marker, cut it out. That way when you put this in there, it's already set up. All you gotta do is weld it in there and then kind of fine tune it from there. You know, round the corners off and make the holes a little bit bigger. But I think it's a lot easier when it's already drilled out to kind of mess with it. So maybe that'll help you out fixing yours. If you find a bench, if you need a bench seat and it's rusted, it's not too terribly bad to fix it. Even if I had to replace this whole side, it wouldn't be too bad. It would just be a couple of pieces. It's easier to do it in sections, like that one is 2 pieces on the other end. So it's easier to do the top and then do the side, and then if the top was, or the bottom, because I have it flipped over, was rusted, then you could just do 3. Then you can weld it. When I did the other side, I welded from the inside and then kind of tacked on the outside. That way I could round it over, because I know once the seat cover's on there, whatever defect or points are sticking out are going to show through the fabric itself. So I made sure everything's going to be nice and round and smooth. But hopefully that'll help somebody out, especially on the top half of the seat, finding wire for it. That's it.